mysteries that are hidden in plain sight, and testing the seeing that requires no sensory awareness or machination of mind. In the far-off land of India, in a time long ago, the northern part of that great land was invaded by a cruel and despotic tyrant who ruled with an iron fist. But this tyrant hated Hindus. So many, in fact most of the Hindu residents of that place, headed for the hills, into the hills of the Hindu Kush. Amongst those who were left behind, there was one called Sri Bahat. He was a physician who had cured the tyrant of a malady during the early days of his reign. So he was kept as a retainer by that king. Now it so happened that after some years of that cruel reign, the king also became ill once again. But despite the efforts of Sri Bahat and many other physicians who were called, they were unable to cure the despot of his illness, and he was seen to be deteriorating very rapidly. Now Sri Bahat was beside himself because he knew that if the tyrant died, he would lose his head. Now it so happened, and by the way of fate, a Hindu saint found his way to that place. Now in the way of saints, with the powers that come with what we would call sainthood, he was able to move his soul at will. Now when he entered that place, he was very surprised to find that he could not even find one house that was inhabited by a Hindu where he could find hospitality, until he was directed to the house of Sri Bahat. Now after the pleasantries and having hospitality given to him, Sri Bahat told the saint of that which was there at the moment, and his state of great fear that he and the other physicians would lose their heads if the tyrant died. So the saint said, "I'll see what I can do. Take me to the king." But when they arrived there, they found that the tyrant had already left his body. Now Sri Bahat beat his chest and wailed and said, "Our fate is sealed. Leave now, he said to the saint, and leave me to my destiny." "No," said the saint, "Let me take over the body of the king. I will leave my body in your care until such time as I can re-enter it again." And so it transpired. The soul of the saint took over the body of the king, and it was returned to physical health. Now, of course, Sri Bahat was totally overjoyed and elated by this turn of events, but even more surprising to him was when, in the following days, all of that land was transformed. The saint, in the body of the king, brought in rules and laws. He emptied the prisons of all those that had been incarcerated. He gave alms to the poor. He changed the laws, bringing in religious tolerance and much, much more. Many of those who'd fled returned to that place, and prosperity abounded. Sri Bahat was overjoyed, but he knew that one day the saint would come to return to his own body, not knowing what would happen to that kingdom after this happened. But Sri Bahat, pondering on this, suddenly jumped up and went into the room where the body of the saint lay, and without even giving it another thought, he gathered up the body and carried it down to the cemetery ground, where he cast it to the flames of the fires that were burning there. Of course, this ensured that the saint could no longer return to his old physical frame, and was destined to rule and live out the natural life of the body, the king that he had taken over. The mysteries that are hidden in plain sight, and our growing awareness that we can see without the machination of mind. After ingesting, digesting the stories, the experiences, the encounters of life, what do you see in this story? What does the saint represent in this and many other tales.
Is it about annihilation of the self? And you've annihilated everything and walked the true path.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Annihilation.
He represents our big self, our true self.
Yeah.
Yes.
So when we're not looking through the eyes of existence, we only see oneness, which is what we are with life,
Okay.
with whatever it is.
And you know, over these last days it's been said that we have the key that opens any door. The key that opens any door.
It's like a courageousness